All right, we should be live on YouTube. So hopefully, I should probably actually preview the stream and see if we're actually got the correct audio. Well, I hope everyone is no audio. Yeah, well, I bet I can fix that though. Give me just a second. No, I'm just going to pull up the magical program known as Pulse Audio Volume Control. And let's see what is. I don't know. Because I see the desktop when you guys speak, I see the little meter in OBS. Yeah, that's weird. So it should be streaming. Well, you know what? Go to advanced auto. Yeah, that is it. Let's do mono. All right, Big Pod, I bet they can hear you now, but we'll give it a few seconds and. Because you guys are definitely being streamed to OBS. OBS is getting your signal, but I think I did not have the mono ticked on to where, yeah. You guys were being streamed to audio track 2, and most people are only going to hear audio track 1, right? Because now there is audio. How do you have your audio configured, DT? Not well. Oh. You could, but I don't know. What? I thought they said now there is audio. Oh my goodness. Hold on a second. I guess I need to preview the stream while I'm trying to fix this because it's hard for me to know if it's fixed just asking YouTube. Let's see. Everything looks good here. Yeah. But on the stream, you guys are not being picked up.
No, we have to be all on the same track as far as
we all have to be on the same track.
And it has to be a specific track.
And I meant to put you on track stream, 1 you guys when I switched to mono, but I switched to mono track 2 for some reason. I bet you guys are going to be heard now.
Let's see.
Mama say, Mama sa, Mama Musa. Anybody hears?
No, we have
And-
to be all on the same track.
Yeah,
As far as
We all
can
have to
hear
be on the
myself
same track.
now, and it has
Now
to
I
be on
can
the
I can hear
track.
Big Pod now. All right.
The horrible voice of Big Pot. I could hear it.
Yeah.
Salut,
only took-
Neo29.
All right. So it only took us about 5 minutes to get working audio this time. It's better than
that's
most
better
streams.
Than my stream when it took me half the stream to figure out that on one scene I forgot to put my guest's camera. Really, I was his guest and my machine was streaming. So
Okay.
it was
Back.
I
The
was
big
the
pod way.
producer. I was the producer.
So the big pod method.
I was the producer of the stream, and he was the host. And I was just sitting by, looking horrible.
Well, it
Say look
happens.
pretty because that would be a giant lie.
Oh,
I've seen videos where people were trying to demonstrate something on their desktop, on their monitor, but they had the wrong scene in OBS, like they had a camera on them.
Yeah.
And they're trying to talk people through something for like 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes straight, and they don't realize that they haven't shown anybody anything. And it's and of course, with recording videos or even audio podcasts, sometimes people think they hit the record button and
They
didn't. Yeah, and then you record like a 2-hour podcast and realize you didn't record anything.
I remember last time I saw something like that was watching one of the YouTube lawyers talk about the Microsoft Activision acquisition, and like it was a 6-hour stream of one. He was just talking through one document, and for like 20 minutes he was talking about something and pointing out, like selecting stuff, and constantly in the chat I was like, "We only see you." It was really funny, and then his wife came in
That's-
and told him he needs to switch the scene.
She came in like, "Hey, you big dummy."
Co-counsel, he said.
Slugged me in as R. It should really be an M. You should have 3 M's up there.
So I guess we should talk about, now that we're finally on camera, because I know we had a couple people, as soon as they join, they want to jump into this hot video take that I did a few days ago, and I knew it was a spicy take
Not a
about
hot take.
Pac-Man and Arch.
Not a hot take.
Breaks on me all the time. I mean, it's usually minor breakages, but you know, a lot of times, especially when you're in a hurry and you've got to get something done, and like 2 or 3 other programs that you have to use to do what you need to do, they just don't work because the latest update broke them.
That's why
Which
I was
happens.
on Arch, I made my own packages.
Yeah.
That's-
And part of the problem is, it's not all, like most programs don't have this problem, but the ones that have a lot of dependencies, the multimedia programs, Kden Live and GIMP, they have a lot of dependencies.
Yeah.
Those dependencies break on not every update, but they break on a lot of updates.
Try to install
And-
Gaiden Live on GNOME.
Hello?
It's gonna drag half of KDE with it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. It does, but you really don't have much of an option, though.
Yeah, you do. But if you switch to the let's say flatpak version, it's not that it's not gonna drag the entire KDE with it. It does drag KDE with it, except this time it's as a containerized KDE environment.
Yeah.
That's why the
which-
size is huge when you.
No,
install
that's-
it.
The
and
problem
that's-
with such programs is that they're dependent on a desktop environment.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
yeah.
And of course, the you brought up the most common complaint on that video, Dark Zero, was why would you use these containerized formats? Because aren't they just duplicating all these libraries? Because you're going to have multiple copies of some of these dependencies and all these packages. It's wasted disk space.
That is correct.
And
that is correct.
they have a point. It's wasted disk space, but
Really
I mean,
wasted.
It's not really wasted unless you're installing it on a 32 gig eMMC, like
Right.
on some laptops,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But if you
and it also depends on how many of these things you have installed. I mean, if you had hundreds installed, I could see, yeah, maybe it's taking up a few extra gigabytes.
yeah,
But if most people are only going to have like a dozen of these things installed, maybe, and you're talking a few megabytes probably of duplicated.
for
libraries.
example, in my work environment, I have 60 Flatpaks installed. And altogether, if you combine them all together, they're using maybe 10 gigabytes of storage.
Let's remember that this is just a difference of philosophy of how to install packages, nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to occupy the same space, be it if it pulls the dependencies as a regular package or as a Flatpak.
Right.
It's simple. This ensures that there is no dependency hell.
Exactly.
Because if you
and
let's say
that's all I
to
want.
upgrade one program but another.
Yeah.
That's one program
That is
to
all I
upgrade
want. I
to
just want to
full
avoid
entire
dependency
program.
hell. I don't care about size. I just
Yeah, exactly.
I have a question here.
Yeah, go ahead.
OBS, OBS Studio, does it require a GPU to run? Can you run it on the system?
But it is good.
It doesn't necessarily require one, but it would struggle without one on most things.
Error message, it cannot init GLX when I try to run it on a very old computer without a GPU, 4th generation i5. I get that on several programs.
That thing has a GPU because otherwise you wouldn't even have a screen.
Yeah.
You
You'd
just have
have
an
to-
iGPU. That to me said that there's some driver missing.
So is it
or some dependency missing?
Yeah, you don't need a GPU to actually run OBS.
To encode,
you need a
one.
GPU
Right.
to run it because otherwise you wouldn't be able to display anything.
No, he means a dedicated GPU.
A dedicated one. He should be able to run
Dedicated
it fine with the integrated.
Yeah,
It
and
runs
you
just fine.
you can also force GLX to software. There's the option. There's an environment variable that you can force GLX to software only.
Yeah, but encoding and rendering is going.
It's not ideal.
Let's
At all.
let's be honest.
I
While you can render and do that on this kind of a system with CPU, is gonna be super slow and super blocky because it
defaults to the low settings.
Generation. That thing doesn't have a lot of grunt.
I'm not trying to use it. I'm just trying to make it run, just to see if it works. Right?
Yeah, you just need to pass the flag to disable GLX.
Or check what dependency you're missing. You're probably missing some dependency.
I did try that flag. It improved it a bit, but it still didn't run.
How did you install OBS?
Through Nix.
I don't know anything about the Nix packaging.
Nix, okay.
Nix, so the Nix installer, the Nix, the way Nix package manager works is it pulls every package file by file.
Yeah.
Oh,
you might be missing not a driver, but a compatibility library for your specific system.
Yeah, it's really old computer. I'm thinking the hardware is.
I know how old it is. My server runs a 4th generation i5.
Yeah.
10
They're
years.
still good daily machines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you use it for general usage like browsing and watching YouTube, it will work.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that i5. I mean, it's fine.
i5s are great. Currently, in my opinion, if you're gonna buy a CPU of the current generation, the i5 13600K is the best CPU you should get. Of course, those 13700 and 13900 are more expensive and better, but for most people, they're overkill. So i5 13600K, it's all you need.
Actually, I have
people.
5 of those very old M93s networked at home on the home computer through NFS, and they're all perfectly good. They're quiet machines. You walk in the room, you don't even know they're there. I've been using them maybe 5 years now, and they just rock solid all the time.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about it, they're all identical machines except for the size of the SSD. So if I get some software working on one, I know it's going to work on the other ones as well. It's not going to have a hardware issue. So that's pretty well.
My server runs i5 4440.
4440. Ooh, the 4th generation mid-range.
Yeah. 4-core, 4-thread. 3
no hyper-threading.
3.4 gigahertz.
Yeah, no hyper-threading.
No hyper-threading. Yeah. So it's not good for virtualization.
Speaking of virtualization, I just installed VMware for some odd reason to test it out on Linux For Windows, it works. If you install Windows as a guest, it works better than KVM.
No.
Yeah, it does. I tried it. I'm having them running side by side.
I ran Windows in a KVM for a long time, and it runs really well.
If you have if you do pass through, it works better. And KVM enables that easily versus VMware. VMware doesn't enable pass through very easily. You can do it.
I don't do pass through. I did some personal optimizations to the VM, so maybe that was what got it running better.
But
I've run Windows in VMware and KVM and in VirtualBox, and Windows is still Windows in all three as far as it's.
Yeah, I was just testing something for someone. I was just testing something for someone.
I'm gonna tell you, if you have a 64 gig machine, it really doesn't matter. Windows will run great and consume what? Let's see.
Yeah, but going back to the subject of Pacman,
your snaps and flat packs and app images,
I've got
40 gigabytes.
I've got something to say about that, but I want to do it a bit later. I found something really cool.
Fun fact: currently, my system is using 40 gigabytes of RAM.
Okay. You must be running something in the background.
30 gigabytes of that is VMs. Let's be clear.
Yeah, because I'm the one streaming, and I'm only using 8 gigs of RAM.
I have five VMs in Hyper-V running right now.
Oh well, of course. Well,
that's next to RAM.
Well,
so Derek, your crash or your problems with Arch and doing it. I had a similar one with Nix. I have 350 Nix packages installed. They all work well. I can transfer one machine to another. One day, I do the update, and sure enough, it breaks. And it breaks. So it can't be fixed. I went to the forums and told them problem. They said run this command and try it out. I ran it, didn't work, and got no more help from the forum. So I was stuck. The packages could still run, but I could not remove them or update or delete them. All I could do is run the existing packages.
Did you try to roll back to the previous working state?
No, I didn't. I had ZFS. I should have done that. But even then, what I did is reinstall it from scratch and then do the update again, and the same thing happened. So I couldn't fix it that way either. And so I was stuck. But the thing was, Nix is independent of your base system. There's no hooked into it. So my system still ran, right? And the Nix packages still ran. So it was still okay on it.
Since you use Nix, I don't know how to use Nix. I just installed once Telegram on my shop system. How do you uninstall a Nix package?
Oh, you just remove some files and folders. I have a short script that removes /nix and some in the
it puts the packages in a folder called Nix.
Yes, no, /nix at the base level. And then under Nix and under store underneath. And there's a few under home folder as well. There's only half a dozen places to delete it. And you just delete the folders and they're gone. That's it.
The way Nix and Geeks do it, they have this special store.
Yeah.
Where they place everything. And I know with Geeks, and I think it's this way with Nix if you want to do it this way, is there'll be a config file that you can actually list all the programs that you want installed. And if you just remove those programs from the config file, then it'll just uninstall them.
The only good thing about Nix is that configuration file.
Oh, there's something good about it. There's something else I'm holding back that's really good about it. The other thing is that so I was stuck, and the solution turns out there's a new release of Nix. It's called Flakes. It's a completely different command set and a different way of doing things. So I had these 22 scripts, and I avoided doing it because it wasn't broken. I didn't go to the new system deliberately, but I was forced to. So I rewrote I learned the new way of doing it, and I rewrote all my scripts. And the new system does work, and it's better, and it's I'm back in business now with it.
So there's a new Nix package manager.
New Nix package type. They have like 3 package type or something like that.
It's a flake. not new, but it's
So I want to
experimental.
back on that.
Yeah.
It's a nice new feature.
Why?
No, I'm wondering because I use
It's
my
gonna make
distro
this
uses
month, I think.
top
Made
grade.
mine anyway.
Yeah, my system uses top grade. It updates package
So,
every single
I
package
also
manager.
had issues with Grub. That a couple months ago, everyone is having a Grub issue. I think.
Yeah. On Arch, yeah.
Yeah,
Is
on
your
Arch.
audio on, Derek? I can't hear you.
All right, you guys can't hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
I think the
I can hear
audio's
you.
gone.
I was just saying that top grade uses all the package managers you have installed on your system. If Nix has a new one, I should check it out because I should mention it to the developers of top grade. Maybe they'll add it in.
It's not a new package manager. It's a way of basically a flake is a self-contained. It all ends up
It's like Flatpak.
it sort of is. It's a way of
Plugin.
I don't know how to describe it, but
Anyone hear anyone?
Yeah, we can hear.
Yeah, we can hear you
Testing,
just fine.
1, 2, 3.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. It's fine.
yeah.
He's probably having some Pulse audio issues too.
Yeah. Well, I can
For
say I
him.
don't have to have those anymore. That's a good thing.
Anyway, the reason I haven't had any issues or any of my users have had any issues because Zeronix has switched to Flatpaks. So I had much less users complain about packages breaking ever since I switched to Flatpaks.
Of course, because each and every one of them is a self-contained unit, and they're less likely to break because of that.
That's me.
Yeah, so the only complaint I have is the users saying it's using too much space.
I was about to say, surely you get some complaints about it because that would be unusual if you didn't.
7.
So, and there's an issue that you mentioned in your video, DT. It was they taking a little bit longer than usual to run.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's so minor. It's really not worth.
Because they're containers. They need to load everything into memory.
I lost my.
There's a reason most programs have a splash screen.
Yeah, exactly. One guy came to me and he said, I tried to launch Kden Live. It took 30 seconds to launch on the splash screen. I asked him about his config. He had like 4 gigabytes of RAM and he had a dedicated GPU. He had a dedicated GPU which had 2 gigabytes of onboard VRAM.
Kden Live on my machine's obviously not a weak machine, but it takes, I don't know, 2 maybe 3 seconds to launch.
Same here.
It's 30 seconds is a long time though, unless you're just running a potato.
It was a potato
Same with the
machine.
game, so.
Yeah.
Every time I dig deeper with a user, it ends up being a potato machine.
I think we should stop recommending Linux to those who have potato machines.
That was the reason people recommended though Linux, because it has this thing around it saying Linux runs on a potato. If you run a window manager, but if you run a desktop environment, no.
You should in general stop doing that because we're just making.
But if you have a potato, Big Pod, if you have a potato, you can't run Windows. Like you have no choice but to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
but
there is a chance that you can buy yourself something newer.
Yeah, but most people are. If you're trying to still use that potato,
You're not going to buy
Linux is definitely your best option. Where else are you going to go?
Oh yeah, great
Free
news.
BSD, right? I mean, that's basically it.
Great news, guys. My best friend has finally taken the plunge into Linux.
Oh, cool.
He has been running Windows 7 up to this day.
A lot of people are still running Windows 7.
No thanks.
He wouldn't touch Windows 7 because.
Yeah, I think that's Murray still trying to figure out his audio settings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus, Murphy.
Whatever he did there, don't do that one again.
but he wouldn't touch Windows 10 or 11 because of all the telemetry stuff. So he did,
Yeah.
and using custom ISOs is like asking oneself to use a virus. So he was like, "No, I'll stick to Windows 7 until the day it does."
That video I did a couple of weeks ago.
As long as you use internet, you're under more telemetry than Microsoft.
It doesn't.
would even imagine.
No, not with Windows 7. It doesn't have anything underlying it unless you update to the latest patches. Yes, but as he's using an old version from October 2014.
Then
15.
he's definitely being watched, just not by Microsoft, but by someone else.
Big Pod, can you tell me, because when I checked the stat counter stats and did that video a couple weeks ago, why more than 50% of computer desktop users are on Windows 10?
Yeah.
Why?
Because
when
the
Windows
audio
11 is
works.
out?
Because of the requirement for secure boot and the
hardware
TPM.
support, basically.
Yeah, I was shocked that still Windows 10 is by far the most popular
Well, it still
operating
supports
system. Like, it's not even close.
Hardware support and TPM and all that crap.
Secure
There's
boot-
more Mac OS
you need a-
users
you need a
than
UEFI
Windows
system,
11
essentially.
users.
Well, Mac OS, yes. This is simple because the way Apple does things, it does things way better than Microsoft.
What?
Things like keeping everything the same. They haven't changed much. They have been.
Yeah.
You're talking about the operating system
Yeah.
specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have been not changing much, sticking
Yeah,
to
but you
the
access-
defaults.
Crap either way, so who cares?
Yeah.
Well, he does make a point. Mac OS 10 has been pretty much the same desktop environment
Yeah.
for,
Aqua.
20 years or whatever.
when you get used to something, and since Apple is not drastically changing things on the users prefer that because they got used to it. Why change? And it works. Why change? This is what they love about it. When Microsoft is coming out with Windows that is completely different every release, when you don't have time to get used to one thing until Microsoft releases a major update. You have to relearn everything.
The last time you had to relearn something was with Windows 10, from Windows 10 to 11. That's it. Then now, at
Well,
least
Windows 8
not.
was a pretty drastic change.
8
Yeah.
and 8.1. Yeah.
And I still don't know what's so drastic between 10 and 11. Start menu is a bit different. That's it.
Not really. If you go to the settings, for example, in Windows 10,
Settings are a bit better. Yes.
You can center the taskbar on the panel, Big Pod.
Yay! One setting.
You could add folders again too. So
Yeah.
no, but they're slowly going the touchscreen method where the start menu is now icons instead of a grid of icons.
Good.
This is one thing I didn't like on
Better
GNOME.
UX anyway.
This is one thing switching from KDE to GNOME I didn't like. Like, it's an iPad icon grid. I'm not using an
This UX is better whether it is on desktop or on a tablet. In my opinion, I've always said that touchscreen UI for stuff like menus was always better on a touchscreen than it is on a desktop, especially for something like a start menu. GNOME has one of the best UXs for the start menu style system.
Yeah, I uprooted it and I replaced it with Arc menu. Done deal.
I'm gonna say again. The best start menu or really start screen was in Windows 8.1.
No.
No.
No, it is still obviously.
And then they upgraded on Windows 10.
Oh.
It was still
Now that's a spicy
better
take,
than
right?
any start menu was before and what start menu is now. And
For touch, yes, but
no, for desktop use.
no.
Question is, why do you use a start menu for? Most people use it to press start key and type in things to open. That's what most people use. More you see, better it is.
I hate touch screens. I just
Same.
they make no sense for a mobile device. I understand it's a small little handheld device, but if you actually have a keyboard plugged into something, Why would I want to put my greasy fingers on my monitor?
Exactly.
You know?
Finally, someone who is of the same opinion as me. Finally.
Hey, I have to agree. It's for me. I have a Windows laptop because I have to run Ableton, and it is a touch screen. And I end up touching the screen when I don't want to touch the screen, and end up throwing Windows off into like some weird mode I've never seen before. You know?
Yeah, and greasy hands, and you have to wipe the screen every time. And
I hate it.
I have
It's
a
terrible.
touchscreen on my laptop. Oh, it was one of the best improvements I could ever have, and I'm never going off a laptop with a touchscreen.
I try. I
No.
don't. I still don't like.
I could understand if you had a
premium. I'm always gonna buy a laptop with a touchscreen, or a tablet with a laptop style keyboard.
if you're setting something up to be a kiosk or a POS or something like that, it makes sense. But again, if you're actually like, could you imagine doing something in LibreOffice on a touchscreen?
Right now,
Right.
touch is a better interface than keyboard and mouse for most things people use their computers.
No, for very select things, stuff like DAWs.
For most
That's where it works.
Yeah.
Where keyboard and mouse come in play is where we are. We advanced users, we are more keyboard and mouse bound because we do things that aren't that do not get enhanced by touch.
Yeah, when you want to
people use
when you want to use something like LibreOffice or code.
Interface. Sorry,
Right. But if you want to code and do stuff like that,
of course, something that is heavy keyboard bound. Yes, of course, it's not better. That's logical. That's why I always have to have a keyboard.
Yeah, but if you want to zoom into a picture or not, a touch screen is
reading something, whether it is doing any kind of just quickly browsing internet and stuff like that. I will be always faster with my touch screen than I am with my keyboard and mouse. Sorry, that's the reaction.
But how do you type? But how do you type the URL, for example, on a touch keyboard?
I have a. That's why I have a laptop with a keyboard. I just move my hands down or move my right hand down because I only touch screen with my right hand.
Okay, that's one thing of doing it, but
Or I just type with my left hand.
it depends on the people and the use case. But,
You know, one of the things when I bought my little 40% keyboard from ZSA, the Ergodox, and it's not the Ergodox, the Plank, the little Plank keyboard. It has a little mini connection that plugs into my phone.
Yeah,
I can actually plug in a real keyboard to my phone, like when I want to do an actual type something up instead of having to deal with that ridiculous keyboard on the phone. That's so nice. Yeah.
I plug in my when I'm doing if I need to do something on my phone, like seriously, like for a bit of time, I'm gonna plug my phone into my monitor,
Right.
and I'm gonna open Dex and.
Heck, even if I want to type a long email, I may plug in that keyboard instead of trying to type it on the phone.
What is more likely, I'm going to use a computer.
Speaking of ZSA, Derek, you introduced me to them, and I now own everything they've made.
Yeah, and I can't wait till they come out with something new so I can buy it.
Yeah,
Because I'm the same way. Everything I've bought from them has been great.
Okay, because I've been really thinking about getting one of their keyboards, the dual split ones.
They take a lot of getting used to. It is not an easy transition.
I must imagine, yeah.
Well, for me, I would say it took a couple of weeks for me to get reasonably comfortable. But really, when you start using it, within a couple of days, you'll be fine. You'll make some mistakes. A couple of weeks, you'll make a lot less mistakes. After a month,
I'm the type of person who looks at the keyboard while typing because I still don't remember where the letters are. So this will be even harder for me.
The tricky part for me was
doesn't have anything written on it, or technically it has. I just can't see it because, well, it was supposed to be seen with lights, and I kinda spilled the beer on it.
Now, the tricky part with the Ergodox and the Moonlander, the split keyboards, for me was not learning them. It was when I was still working, the computer at my office, all of them had normal keyboards, of course, right? And just normal 110 keyboards, and having to go between the split keyboards at home and then those normal keyboards at work. When I would switch between the two, it would take me like 2 or 3 minutes to adjust my brain to remember, okay, I'm on a different keyboard now with the keys are in the wrong place. But even after doing that for a few months, it got to the point where I could comfortably switch between the two different kinds of keyboards, and I could make that switch almost immediately after a while. But there for a minute, it was weird.
I think was my biggest problem is I use both keyboards and I wasn't using one exclusively. So it's a constant shift of the mind. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm working on one desktop computer. That should be fine then. But is there a noticeable change for like your shoulders and stuff? Or
yeah,
in terms of ergonomy, is it noticeable? Because
for me, yeah, I can say I didn't notice anything about my shoulders. For me, though, I did notice less hand pain, especially if you do things like Vim and Emacs and you're constantly reaching, especially for the control key and the escape key. They're all right under you now. The control key is actually your Z key, so it's actually moved one key in. Same thing with the right control key. It's moved one key in. It's the slash key now. Your escape key is now under your thumb. You're never reaching for escape ever again.
okay,
So, I noticed, especially in my left hand, not having to use that pinky to get to escape and control all the time.
See,
Because I was starting to have some pain in my left hand. It went away as soon as I switched keyboards.
I didn't notice the decrease in pain, but I also play piano, so that could play a part of it. I did notice the back because when I set it up as I would sit at a piano, and that alleviates that pressure in your shoulder blades. And it loosens up those muscles.
That's one way of doing it, but another way of doing it, I saw online a mouse. Since I'm a mouse person, I use a trackball with a thumb. But I saw one mouse that has a trackball on the thumb, but next to it there are shortcut keys. Like you got, I think, 8 different keys, like keyboard keys on the side of the mouse. For common keys, I can program them on the mouse. I don't have to use the keyboard as much.
yeah, that's that World of Warcraft mice style.
Right.
but-
Yeah.
It's that hardcore gamer, right?
9 buttons on the side. I
do everything. I do everything with my thumb. So my thumb is my most powerful finger. So I want to buy this mouse, but it's $180. So not right now.
No, I'm absolutely not a mouse person due to that, and I actually want to move my shoulders as ergonomically as possible.
Well, the good
because I
thing with the
figured-
ZSA keyboards is with the Moonlander and the ErgoDocs,
You're
you can have a layer on the keyboard that is the mouse.
Yeah.
So,
Just make sure you have a good sized desk because
Yeah,
these will
I
not
do.
fit on a standard desk.
I do.
Very well.
I have a standing desk with automatic lift and stuff. I use a vertical
and because they have the
mouse and-
wrists
He's
for
all
the wrists, they're
fancy.
deep. They're not wide, but they're deep. So
Yeah.
you're gonna need a good, I'd say, looking at it, 8 or 10 inches of depth on your wherever you're sitting it.
Have you ever tried one of them keyboards with that have no labels? You just move your finger up and down, and they're like analog.
People
sticks.
have asked me. Yeah, I've actually had people request me because they know I love keyboards. Hey, would you ever buy one of these things and tell me about it? Because nobody wants to try such a weird thing. They want somebody else to be the guinea pig. I guess people think I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, and they don't have character on them or anything. It's just
Yeah.
2 up is one letter, 2 down is another letter, left one.
Oh, is that those weird, like they're almost hand-shaped things
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
just okay?
technically better, practically.
That is enough training for the brain to melt in your skull.
I'm sure they're usable, but at the same time, that's going to a deep, dark place that I'm just not prepared to go
here's
to.
one for you, Derek. Would you ever go down to 36 keys, or would you ever try to drop yourself down even further?
No, I don't think it's worth it because honestly, once you get down to like a 40% keyboard, you've already made some sacrifices at that point that
Yeah, but that would rely on combination keys.
Right. Well, you're dealing
Macro
with so
keys.
many different layers at that point on the keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could do it, but I'm. It's not worth it.
By
In
the
my
way,
opinion, it's just not worth it.
I wanted to ask you.
Nice keyboard if I didn't have this kind of real estate on my desk, which is basically
Yeah, I wanted to ask you: does those ErgoDock keyboards have function keys or macro
On a different layer.
on a different layer? Okay.
Yeah, you just hit the key to switch to the whatever next layer you want to go to, and now like your number keys would be the function
FN
keys.
Have an FN key,
It's like an FN key, basically. Yeah.
like my laptop has, and I'm like, why? And I first thing I do, I said it just that F keys work and everything else doesn't.
Yeah. Well,
F and the F keys. F,
I have.
F and the
I
F.
have
That's why
my.
you get 75% keyboard and you're all fine.
No, I prefer the full keyboard because I need my numpad. But the.
Oh, you have a numpad. You just hit the layer.
Yeah.
To get to the
Yeah.
and then you got the thumbpad. Yeah, really.
My old
The
laptop
the numpad is actually quite normal because it's you put the keys all in the same spot you normally would in the same arrangement. Oh.
Yeah.
But of course, they're not going to be the numbers. When I hit the layer key to go to the numpad, it's a UIOJKLM apostrophe period or whatever. You know, it's where those are on the keyboard, but it's in the exact same.
Okay.
It's a numpad.
My old laptop had that, and I was like, nope. I'm gonna use alphanumeric keys for everything.
Another question, Derek. You know that everything has a cheap knockoff, right? Do those have a cheap knockoff?
Yeah, because a lot of this stuff, the plans for them as far as how to build them yourself, it's all open source stuff. Anybody can build it. The ErgoDocs is not ZSA's
Flagship.
thing. They call it the ErgoDocs Easy. It's because it's their implementation of it. But anybody can make their own ErgoDocs. You go get the plans. You can 3D print, I guess, chassis for it. And you can get all the switches and the keys. And if you're cool with soldering, which I'm not, I could never build one myself, or I wouldn't want to. I would have to spend as much buying the equipment to build it
I know
than
someone
purchasing
who
it.
built their
Now,
own-
if you were already into that stuff, you could build it cheaper.
I know someone who built their own keyboard, and I was like, why, dude? Why?
Yeah, some
If
people
you
like
go
it.
to-
Some
I am.
people just.
You
I mean,
can hear
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
dude.
can hear you.
we got you.
It only took you half an hour.
Pulse audio.
So Derek,
No, I'm on Pipewire, so it's Pipewire. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Welcome to reality.
so can you hear me now? I'm back.
we've
Yeah.
got you too, Murray.
We can hear you.
I lost my mic. I had to reboot. I was root, but I'm coming back in now. I can talk about your Arch update issues on it now. I got something there. I have a laptop with Manjaro on it. I use it every day for about an hour, take it over to the coffee shop and run it. I don't have much on it in the way of software, but it works quite well. But on it, I have LibreOffice still unwrapped, GIMP, PCman FM, Deadbeef, Simple Stream Recorder, Firefox, dmenu, Menu Commander, Vim, NeoVim, Fish, Qtile, bzip2, and HTOP, all on it as app images. They're the latest, most current app image, and they're cross-distro. You can run it on Debian, you can run Manjaro, you can run Arco, you can run it on Ubuntu, Fedora, Mint, and they work perfectly out of the box.
Well, I have to ask you something there because I did know that you could do shells like Bash and Fish as app images. I've done them. I did not know it was possible to do a window manager as an app image. How did you app image Qtile and actually make that work?
That's the key, isn't it? Not only that, I have a total of, let me get it here, 688 app images on my laptop, totaling 76 gigabytes. So I've got file managers, I've got just about everything you can think of.
Yeah.
And
Because that's a total
Damn.
game changer there. Because you realize how many
Isn't-
dependencies something like a window manager like Qtile would have because of all the Python libraries. If you could app image your window manager, that really decreases what you're installing with something like Pacman.
I've got just about all the windows. I've got everything except Xmonad. I've got i3 and all the other ones.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Xmonad, you'd
you
have to
can
package
put
Haskell
into a-
and the compiler.
Yeah.
Kind of container everything.
So the way you do it is I went from the old version of Nix to the new version, and the new version has a code called Nix Bundler, and it creates app images from a Nix package. It can also create Docker images. I don't use Docker, but you could bundle Docker images as well. And it has its own native bundler where it just creates a one. But the native bundler, they file jail it so it doesn't access some folders and things. So that's not worth going. But the app images work really well on it, and it's easy to do. It's like ArchStatch images interactive and prompts you all the way through. No prompting. You just tell it you want the app image, and you let it run, and then it finishes. It's never interactive on it.
Well, that's interesting because when I was making all my packages for DTOS and I decided to just make them standard Arch packages, I flirted with the idea of packaging everything as an app image. The only reason I didn't is because I knew I couldn't package, especially the window managers, as an app image. And it's like if I'm going to have to package them up as Arch packages, I'll just do everything, just to make my life easier instead of having an Arch repository and a repository holding some app images. Just have everything in one
And the
place.
packages will end up being huge.
They can be, because I can tell you, Murray, when you app image GHC, the Haskell compiler, people are going to wonder about that download size when they go to download it. They're going to be like, what the hell is
The
this?
smallest app image I got was 1.8 megabytes for Duff, and the largest was Ocular, 887 megabytes on it. So they're about 3 times larger than Arch to images creates. Arch to image create Firefox was about 110 megabytes. This one is about 300 megabytes on it. That's one of the things. The other thing, ArchStatch images isn't ever going to work because they don't include glibc on it. They rely on the glibc on the target computer. I did Firefox and I did New Shell with ArchStatch images. I took it from Manjaro to Arco when it ran. I took them from Manjaro to Debian and they didn't. The New Shell complained about glibc and the Firefox was missing one SO file.
And I tried to point that out to people on that video I did.
Yeah, you did.
As I was app imaging stuff for my computers, but just because I made the app image on my computer for Arch with, my set of programs, if you're running something like Debian stable, you can't use my app image.
Fun fact, there is a version of Ubuntu that runs kernel as a snap.
What?
Yes.
Is that even possible? What?
How do you containerize the kernel? I don't think that's
You
even...
can do it. There is a version of Ubuntu called Ubuntu Core, which has, I believe it's called Core, that has kernel as a snap.
Huh?
They have to be just completely bypassing the container then,
No,
right?
it's all containerized.
So the whole Ubuntu is containerized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything.
Okay, I could see how you could maybe...
Everything.
but-
That thing, all it's in a container. Everything you run, it must be in a container. There is no outside of container thing. Everything is its own container. It's Snap City. Everything is inside a Snap.
Oh boy.
It is a desktop. First of all, it's meant to be run as a kiosk device and stuff like that. For
Probably be a great server.
it's good for servers. Mostly, it's used for devices like CNC machines and stuff like that, where you need to have a specific system, and all of it needs to be very specific, including a kernel.
Yeah. That I would see why people would use that style on those kind of machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I know I've done it on web servers where sometimes running snaps makes sense because you don't have to worry about having that specific version of Apache and PHP and
Docker to
Yeah.
To,
No,
Exactly.
and it's,
everything on the
especially
system.
if you, for example, using it on a kiosk. For example, if the machine dies, you just transplant the image into a new one, and you're up and running within minutes rather than hours.
Last week, I went and installed something on a server the normal way, not the Docker way, and I was like, why the hell does this? Did anyone ever think this is a good idea?
They forgot even how to use the package manager on that
as-
distribution. He's like, well,
As soon as
he had
I
to look up the
messed
man
one
page.
thing, I was like, okay, now I have to clean all of this up instead of just deleting a single container. And then I went and found where can I find the container, and I did. And now I have my own Mastodon instance.
That's how we learn.
There is no chance I'm ever going to run.
I think
anything
everybody that
directly on
installs a Mastodon, pretty much does it in Docker.
No. Most people do it directly on Metal because that's what their instructions are. They don't even have Docker instructions.
I'm pretty sure they have Docker instructions. I know I've seen
Not
them.
anymore. They used to have them.
They deleted it?
Yeah,
Oh.
I had to find completely separately some random guy's instructions.
Because I know I've seen those Docker instructions. Yeah.
I had one problem, and with that I could fix it. And now I have a fully Dockerized instance of Mastodon for BigPod and BigPod only.
BigPod and
So you
BigPod
talk to
only.
yourself?
It's for
You
me.
just type to yourself?
No, I have it connected to Fediverse, but
Yeah, you
only
can still
I
talk to
can
anybody
have
anywhere.
an account
you know.
I'm just giving you a hard time.
Only I have an account on it, and it will always be just me having an account on it, or multiple accounts.
There was a video recently about it was the WAN show from Linus Tech Tips where Luke said something about Mastodon. He was
Yeah.
like, Mastodon is not a good idea. Everything sucks.
Technically, it's not a good idea, but it works.
Everything
for
sucks
Peggy.
differently.
Technically,
It has some
It's very much not a good idea.
the complaints people have about Twitter.
They're gonna
Complaints
Yeah,
are on
Mastodon is an improvement in some areas, but in some ways it's
here's
going the wrong direction in a lot of ways too. So-
here's the thing. Everybody that's migrating off of Twitter to Mastodon, so Mastodon
they're not staying. They're
no,
not
no.
staying.
If they
Right.
stay, it's going to end up becoming Mastodon's going to end up becoming Twitter.
They're not. That's not going to happen. I'm just telling you right now.
I'm gonna say right now, only people who will stay on Mastodon are techies.
Yeah.
People like
The
us.
people that come to a Mastodon thinking they're going to have those same Twitter style arguments every day.
No.
Most people that maintain Mastodon instances are not going to allow that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We
true,
should tell them
but-
they should go to a BBS. Let all them people go to BBS, man. Have fun.
Yeah. BBS.
well, you
the
do.
olden
These
days.
people. There are people out there that sometimes they just need a place to go vent. They need to go yell at somebody for a while, and they need a place. It's just not
There's the
Mastodon.
reason
Though.
I have my own instance. I can do whatever I want on it
Right.
within law.
Well, that's the big mistake that people make. The biggest mistake people make concerning Twitter, Facebook, all that. The internet is not a democracy.
No,
It's not.
it's very
It's
much.
not an entity. It's not control. I mean, yeah, maybe in China it's a communist state, but overall, the internet is not a democracy. You don't. If you owned a service, you control it. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
It's Elon Musk.
Hence, Elon Musk did the best thing possibly could be done for Twitter. And
Well, Twitter,
I think he will
I
run
mentioned
into
it
the
on my
let's be
video.
honest. He will
Twitter
run
was
into
a
the ground.
dying company as far as Twitter was.
Possible.
Twitter was not going to be profitable. Like Twitter was going downhill. Like the company, people complaining that Elon Musk is going to destroy Twitter. Twitter was not going to be around in 5 years.
Twitter
the way
was
it was
too
going.
big of a loss anyway.
I got out of them. I went into IPO. I got out of them within a year.
Yeah.
It's just like nope. This is-
Twitter was self-destructing for a long time.
Oh heck yeah, man! I made a little bit of money on Twitter just because I shorted the stock every chance I could for like the last 2 or 3 years because it's just steadily gone down, right? And then
Yeah.
finally, of course, now it's delisted because
Good thing.
it's a private company now that
Yeah.
Elon bought it. So
So, but on Mastodon, for example, everybody, including Matt from the Linux Cast and everybody, is saying the same thing. I noticed that they, whenever they share a video on Mastodon, they get more boosts and shares than they ever got on Twitter.
Yeah.
Well,
Because
because you're
like you
more
said,
likely.
because
A
like
different
Big
target
Pod said,
audience.
it's mostly techies on there. So
Yeah.
Well, it's a
Especially because
a smaller group.
most of them
yeah.
are on instances that are very much tech focused.
yeah, and it's a good thing for us video makers. So you
But
you don't have to
also
interact
remember
with
that,
anyone.
that those boosts and those likes, favorites, whatever you call them, actually mean a lot less on here than they did on Twitter. Twitter, a single retweet meant a lot more than that's
Because of the amount of people on there.
Not
But
just because of the amount of people, because of the algorithm. On Mastodon, there is no algorithm, which means that whether it's
Right.
reboosted, whether it's favorited, it has basically same amount of chance to appear to someone.
Right.
who is
There's no
not
way to game the
connected
system
to
like you
either
can
you
on.
or
yeah.
someone who boosts you.
That's the
essentially.
problem with things like Twitter and any other place that has an algorithm
can be
that
gamed.
boosts like search results and things like that. Is once people figure out how to game the system, they can game the system. And Mastodon, everybody's kind of right on the same level.
there's one thing about Mastodon that I realized, that it's not very well indexed on Google versus
It's not.
Twitter. Like you can find tweets on when you search for something on Google, but you cannot find posts from Mastodon.
If I
But
can find my own instance.
I think that's mostly because of its nature. Like you have all of these different instances, right?
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
the ACO is
It-
not going to be great.
That's I
It's a-
think that's the different instances thing is Mastodon's Achilles heel when it comes to search results.
Exactly.
it's
Yes,
a
my
problem with,
instance
the
can be
Fediverse.
found via Google.
Yeah,
Today I
well,
learned.
It's a problem. I think it's a problem with the Fediverse as a whole. I mean,
yeah, because it's so spread out as separate instances. It's very hard to
yes, exactly.
index to index. Yes,
Oh,
and
Well, is this an indictment on Mastodon, or should we rethink how we index search results? I mean, everybody assumes Google search results like that's
no, that
they have to be
relies,
seen in Google.
that
I mean,
relies on the
it's-
admin.
Nowadays-
That relies on the admins, and the admins don't want to have anything to do with Google. That's why it's Fediverse.
Indexing of search results are a really complex task.
Right.
We went from like webmasters just manually putting sites up on a web page to now just really complicated bots that can take a variety of different factors and
that
just
crawl through the
Exactly.
first of all, just to get website onto the list itself is hard because
Exactly.
essentially it's doing a web crawl, and then
You need
getting
SEO. You need an SEO
to actually rank them based on the search
Yeah.
query is extremely hard, and
Yeah,
while probably it can be done better, I don't think anybody will try. Because it doesn't make sense, but it just isn't worth it because
and
Google
and to have a
does
Google,
a
to have a
really
good
good job.
SEO, to get a good SEO is already pricey enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because
Well-
my sister used to work in this field. To get someone to create a good SEO for you, and still with every and I noticed lately that Google has been updating things and their
Yes.
disclaimers and the stuff, and because I have a Google for Work account, they keep sending me emails about we updated our disclaimer, we updated our conditions, we updated our, because of this constant moving. I think about it like Google
it's a
is
constantly
arch.
moving target. It's a constantly moving target.
It's hard to achieve. Also,
Yeah.
it's a long-term task. I do
Yeah.
this as a job.
Now you have to hire someone to update
technical-
everything constantly as
Yeah.
Google is moving, and that ends up
There's
costing a
just
lot of money.
few things that I would recommend out of the gate to get good SEO. SSL. If you don't have SSL, don't even think about having good SEO.
You won't even get
You'll never be
listed
seen.
anymore.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
delisting HTTP sites.
I know someone who is super against SSL because it takes a tiny bit longer.
Yeah, of course
And
there are these guys.
his block will never be on the first
It's
page.
bloated.
Even if you do a very exact query, his block is maybe on the bottom of first page.
Yeah, I rely on my web host to update my my certificates, so it's automatically not my host. It's Cloudflare. Cloudflare update. I enabled automatic updates. It updates for 10 years or something.
No.
5, 6.
You get a 6-month lease, and it does it with a DNS challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. 6 months.
I do the Let's Encrypt shit.
Yeah, I do it as well.
I do Cloudflare because I got hacked so many times, so I need somebody to
in front of it. Yeah,
okay,
that kind of proxy is good. I'm probably
I enable proxy. Yeah, I enable Cloudflare proxy on all my URLs. Some people complain because, especially if they're visiting my websites from China. Oh my God, they get a challenge that keeps looping.
Yeah.
It keeps looping because Cloudflare and China are not that's so great.
I plan to sooner or later put Mastodon behind some sort of reverse proxy or some sort of.
That's gonna make it slower.
No, I plan to put it through a proper proxy. Currently, it's already behind a proxy of sorts. That's not a really good one.
I just applied to Google AdSense auto ads, but it's been a week and no reply yet from them. So I guess because my website is built using React JS.
No, that's usually not an issue. But I'm a marketing consultant, and from a technical perspective, I do this as a regular job. You'll be waiting up to 3 weeks for any kind of support reply from the Google marketing team.
Yep.
Your revenue will be, within below a 6-digit number, and hence you won't get any priority there. You'll just have to wait. Yeah. I've even waited for bigger projects like where we had ad spends of $10,000 a month. We waited up to 3 weeks for anybody to reply. So these big companies on the advertiser market, they rely heavily on it, and they do it with
it's the same way with also the
YouTube guys and
probably have your own.
It's also with the people buying ads. It's the big advertisers get priority.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to spend millions of dollars, they'll work with you. If you're just spending $1,000, you're really not worth our time.
No, you only get like really cheap AI enhanced sales tools and stuff.
You're going to get the worst click-through rates. You're going to, it's just horrible. Right?
Yeah, but the only reason I decided now to add Google AdSense because I got a report from Google sent you. Cloudflare sends me reports of how many people visited my websites, real people, and not the same IP reloading the website multiple times. I have reached over 200,000 visits a week. So I'm like, it's worth it now to put Google AdSense. If it makes me maybe $100 to $150 a month, that's enough.
Sure.
DT, you probably have your own representative now, don't you, on YouTube?
If I do, I wouldn't know even how to contact them. So.
By the way, guys, is my microphone okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
We've got you.
Okay, thank you.
And remember, DT, I told you that I got a lot of subscribers on YouTube, but I'm not getting the watch hours. I did something bad. I deleted 3 videos. It took all the watch time with them.
Yep.
So I'm back down to 900. I was at 2,000.
I was unlist content. If you don't want to have it anywhere, unlist it. Don't.
I didn't know that. So I learned. I went from 2,000 to 900.
I'm still struggling with my crappy 250 or 300 or 291 subscribers.
Yeah.
What do you post about?
Don't delete videos off of YouTube. I'm just going to put that out there for anybody that makes YouTube content about anything. I don't care.
Just unlist.
Unless it's something crazy that needs to come down for some reason, because maybe a strike or something. But if it's just,
Even then,
you know what,
don't-
I'm not crazy
leave.
about that video, that content. I'm going to pull it down. You'd be surprised how many people were watching it anyway. And sometimes
Yeah.
I've seen people delete whole channels for no real reason. Like, if I'm going to quit making YouTube videos, so let me delete all
Yeah.
1,000 videos I've made, and that pisses people off.
Yeah.
It might be
Because a lot of people have your videos referenced. If it's, educational kind of stuff, they come back to it, and now it's not there, and there's just no reason for you to delete it.
You bring up a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, I was one of the early streamers, and yesterday, I just did a search and found where this kid basically did an interview from Ustream to Ustream and talked to me about streaming and stuff like that, and it was still on his YouTube, and that was back 8 years ago. And so it basically shows that I was one of the original streamers.
Yeah.
But the reason I deleted those videos were there were guides how to install Zero Linux, but a certain ISO version which no longer exists.
They're out of date.
Out of date. So I was like, I don't need those videos. But instead of deleting them, I should have.
Just unlist them. Yeah, because they don't need to be seen, but you don't want to lose your views until you qualify for
Even
your,
then, you should.
monetization.
I guess another reason for not wanting to delete your videos would be that some people might take inspiration from them. Like, hey, look how this channel grew up, right?
Yeah.
The videos were so bad, and now they're so good. So.
Speaking of which, yesterday, thanks to a user on my Discord, Neo29, a good French guy I know, found a video of Eric Dubois speaking French. In the early days, I was like, oh, now I know why he doesn't speak French to me. When I tried to pick him just to speak French to me, because I speak French, because he's the Dutch side of the of Belgium,
Right.
not the French side. So I was like, okay, now I understand. Because when he was speaking French, he was speaking French worse than my Greek. So I was like, okay, but I was happy to hear him in French. I always wanted to. So
One thing I wanted to bring up is I did a video a few days ago, and about creating a desktop application from any website. We just wrap this sucker in Electron and away we go.
Native
And
Fire,
I knew
right?
I knew when I made that video,
Node.js, native Fire.
I know people.
Yeah.
Some people were going to love it, and I knew I was going to get a ton of hate on that one as well. But, sometimes I like poking the bear because I know Electron is controversial.
I package a lot of websites as applications like Wormhole, the service where you upload temporary files, my Notes website, many websites that are just one interface. They don't have anything else.
Right, you don't need toolbars.
You don't need any of that.
It makes sense.
I just did one for mapoftheuniverse.net, and that worked out really well.
Yeah, there's an application called Web App Manager. You can create web apps out of any website, and it takes a second, less than 5 seconds at least. And I have so many of them.
There's
Don't
also
leave them in a browser, honestly.
It's separate apps is better for me because I don't want to bookmark them.
There's also a Firefox add-on that you can use to create a PDF file from a website. So if you have a news article article and that works really well.
Yeah, but that's for
it respects all the links and everything.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah,
it does.
It's good for I have articles on cosmology, and they don't get dated, so you can create a PDF. I copy them over to my tablet, so when I'm out somewhere and I'm stuck without the internet, I've got all these articles I can read on the go. It works out beautifully.
I just want to be able to pull down an entire website and have it convert to like a org wiki. So that's what I need.
Yeah,
just everything in org, and then I just
order. But I for the first time ever today, I discovered that I just installed the GNOME version of Zero Linux on a USB, an SSD connected via USB to my computer, and now Grub picks it up as a secondary operating system. So I'm like, oh, wow, Grub picks up operating system installed on a USB based device. Cool. I just discovered that today. I was like, okay, cool. I can have GNOME Edition learn GNOME because I'm just using it for me to learn about GNOME, more about GNOME. I'm not releasing Zero Linux with a GNOME edition. No, one desktop environment is enough. But I want to learn more. I keep saying to people, I have tried different desktop environments, but have I really? I just booted them up, looked at them, didn't like them, switched. That's it. I didn't really use any. So now I'm giving GNOME a fair shake.
Well, at the end of the day, really, they're all the same. They're all variations on the same theme.
I kind of disagree there when it comes to GNOME, because GNOME is trying to be like Mac. That is true in a certain aspect where it's stable as long as you use it the way it was intended to be used. Do not falter away. As soon as you falter away,
that's always been the argument. That's always been the argument that GNOME was for Mac users and KDE was for the Windows users.
Yes, correct.
I mean, that's been going on for years. That kind of stereotype, right?
It is true. From my own experience, I can confirm that because I have a MacBook, and when I use a MacBook, my MacBook, and I come back to GNOME, it's very
feels the same.
It feels the same. It's very familiar. It's familiar. But when you're using Windows, you come to KDE, that's when it's familiar. You go from Windows to GNOME, it's not going to be familiar. And
I did want to bring up something, now that you brought up GNOME, Fedora 37.
Oh, I have something to say about that.
Yeah, because I was going to ask if everybody tried it, what they thought.
I made a video about it.
I still can't understand, because Fedora and Ubuntu release within a few weeks of each other all the time. So, and every time I take a look at Ubuntu with GNOME and then Fedora with GNOME, I cannot understand why Fedora uses twice as much RAM to boot into GNOME than Ubuntu. What is Canonical doing?
There are a bunch of
They have a guy
because my laptop
only
personally takes a bunch of time, and when I see systemd starting up, there's so much there.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's not about systemd, because you can use systemd with
I
less
know.
resources.
I'm just talking about the amount of services that are.
Yeah, they have a lot of services running, but there's another thing. I made a video about the Fedora 37 on the Pi 4, which I didn't see a lot of people make, because they announced their Pi 4 support.
Pi edition, yeah.
It's unusable. Absolutely unusable.
Well, it's the first one.
Yeah,
like
for the time
you don't want to
being.
be you're a beta tester, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're.
We're the guinea pigs. So I accept it to be the guinea pig, but in its current state right now, it's unusable. It takes 6 minutes. I timed it. Every boot to boot into the desktop. That's if it boots to the desktop. Sometimes it hangs. You have to hit enter on the keyboard for some odd reason. Yeah. Okay, Big Pod. I know.
Big Pod's favorite distro.
But once it gets to the desktop, there's all these graphical glitches all over the place. It's like they didn't work hard enough on the back end, the render engine. So the display.
Well, I can tell you, Fedora has several different spins and editions.
The workstation.
But really, the only edition that they focus on
is the workstation.
Yeah,
exactly. That is the only one.
That's the one that I flashed on my Pi 4, but they're using a hacked boot loader. It's called U-boot.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, they're using some hacked bootloader to get it to boot, and sometimes it boots, more times it doesn't. You have to. It's on a black screen. You have to hit enter on the black screen for it to boot. Sometimes it's really broken. And there's another reviewer who made a video about it. He couldn't get to the desktop. It was trying to load the desktop. It loops. It loops trying to. So it's not. They shouldn't have published it as public.
Well, they should just label it as beta.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
just
should have kept
label
it under beta. As far as the regular desktop version, is just the regular Fedora minus the codecs, the AV1 codecs and stuff.
Yeah. I was gonna say that since it's all open source, everybody in the open source community should be working together. I don't know why some of the Red Hat guys that work with GNOME don't work with some of the canonical guys that work with GNOME.
There is a bit of a story with that.
Because some of what Ubuntu does with GNOME is a lot better than what the Red Hat guys are doing. And I think if they would just talk to each other,
there's a disconnect. That's what I talked about multiple times. There's a disconnect.
Yes. There is one, a giant one. There is a guy in Canonical that only works on Ubuntu improvements, and rarely any of his improvements get pulled into.
You know about with GNOME, yeah, and he can't get his commits into
his commits into mainline GNOME. No chance. So they are
no chance.
They are only in Ubuntu by GNOME by canonical version because they don't accept it. Red Hat doesn't accept them for some reason.
Well, I wonder if that's why System 76 is focused so heavily now, basically creating their own desktop. They just given up on GNOME. We're gonna write one.
Red Hat. Let's be honest.
GNOME has rejection issues too, because I went and finally flipped to KDE and am very pleased with it, and I had leftover GNOME stuff, and all of a sudden I was using 58 gigs of 64 gigs of memory. And I found out that it was a leftover
memory
library or whatever. So,
and package kit, and if you use the GNOME software, GNOME package kit for the GNOME software also sits in the RAM and keeps eating it up more and more and more. The longer you leave it on, the more it's going to eat your RAM.
They did have a bad memory leak in one version of GNOME 3 there for a while, where it would just completely use up all your RAM until it locked up your system if you left it running long enough.
Yeah, and like for me,
Ubuntu never had that issue because of.
And for me as a customizer, I'm trying to customize GNOME like theme it and whatever because of libadwaita. That ain't happening anytime soon. There is a workaround called gradients that everybody keeps talking about. It's a hack that applies overrides, CSS overrides.
You can create your own version of libadwaita. The proper way is to creating your own version of libadwaita.
Yeah, the package is there to build, but the thing is with gradients is it's a CSS hack. It puts it in the GTK4 folder, but the problem with that is once you apply the override, if you go dark mode and then you want to switch back to light mode, this drop down in the notification thing. You click on light mode, it's not going to switch back to light mode because of the overrides that you apply via gradients. You have to go manually delete them from the folders, then reboot.
Canonical actually works in their own version, so
then you restart,
proper
switch to KDE
system.
And switch to KDE, yeah.
So that YAR works.
He makes a good point. GNOME is basically nothing but JavaScript, CSS, and duct tape holding it together.
Yeah.
So basically,
do you know that there is a universe inside the multiverse where GNOME isn't JavaScript?
Yeah,
really.
C#.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Big Pod universe, multiverse.
There is actually was a giant discussion whether GNOME should be written in C#.
Yeah, that went nowhere.
That got rejected really hard, but honestly, that guy did really well for himself afterwards.
No, I don't think that's reality, Big Pod. I think you saw that on the holodeck, but I don't think that's not real.
Michael De Casa.
Too many edibles?
That's the guy who made Mono. That's the guy who made a bunch of things. Basically,
the best,
Miguel De Casa. He's basically he was like GNOME's big C# guy. He was. Then he went to work together with
for Microsoft.
They created a company together, which got bought by Microsoft. Then he stayed at Microsoft. I believe he went out last year, and his friend with whom he created a company became CEO of GitHub. Yeah.
No, but my whole argument is with desktop environments, you're always going to have cross desktop environment interjections where, okay, you're on GNOME, but the application you like to use is based on Qt. So you're going to have elements from Qt on your GNOME and vice versa. So whatever you try to use, you're always gonna interject the multiple languages on the same desktop environment. So at the end of the day, there's no point into saying I'm a GNOME purist. You can't be a GNOME purist because I betcha anything you want that you have some applications that are not GTK based.
But we had the situation with the Termite developer, the terminal emulator, the guy that he quit working on Termite because he couldn't get his commits into GNOME, their terminal library.
Yeah.
So what is it, the VT?
VTD.
Yeah.
Just a question: has anybody here ever used Midnight Commander?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, of course.
That was
I've got an app image for that.
written by Miguel de Casa, the same guy that recommended GNOME to.
Yeah, Midnight Commander has been around since the beginning of time.
Since
For ages.
1994.
Mm-hmm.
Written in C.
It's my age.
Midnight Commander, you'll see a lot of neckbeards that still use it. As far as when you talk about terminal file managers.
What are the
Ranger is like the cool new thing, right? Midnight Commander is what all the Unix neckbeards used back in the day.
The old school thing.
Is Ranger dual panel or single panel?
You can use it in dual panel.
You can use it either. I think.
You can use,
but it's out of the box. It's dual.
Here's another thing when what happened with GTK4. Remember when Nautilus had open as root in the context menu?
Yeah.
They removed that. And now when you try to open terminal inside a folder, it only uses the new console, the console, the shell or the console that has no settings whatsoever. You can only enable dark mode or light mode. That's all it has.
Yay.
So I had to, and the options are still there, but as AUR packages. So
They probably have it coded to where it's launching the terminal as the root user, which means it's going to use the root user's terminal configs.
I was talking open the Nautilus as root, but
you're talking about Nautilus doesn't look right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the terminal doesn't look right. Yeah.
No, and they removed the ability to open any other terminal in that directory with the right click, then console. If you have GNOME terminal, it's just opening console. So I had to re-add those options myself from via AUR packages. So open as admin, open, and there's a package on the AUR that is really neat. You can open GNOME terminal with transparency, of course, but you can open GNOME terminal and set directory with a right click, or any terminal you want, your heart desires. I set it to Alacrity. So
on Ubuntu, it still opens
GNOME terminal. Yes, I know.
Terminal standardly.
Yeah, because Ubuntu is Ubuntu.
Because Ubuntu
but I'm talking
is 42 still.
Yeah, it's still 42. But on Arch and on Fedora, it opens GNOME terminal. On Fedora, it opens on because people say Fedora is the only way to get pure GNOME, original GNOME as it was built. That is wrong, because they have their own settings, their own tweaks. Like they still open GNOME terminal via the right click. Which
if you want pure upstream, you want
Gentoo. Gentoo, or just get GNOME on Arch.
Even Gentoo. You have
to just get GNOME on Arch. Just build the Arch with pure GNOME. The GNOME packages on Arch are vanilla, pure vanilla.
Actually, Big Pod is probably right, even on Gentoo, because they probably have to compile it in such a way to work with OpenRC, for example.
Flags, it will automatically be different.
Exactly.
Yeah, but on Arch, not so much, because on Arch, it's pulling basically if you all the packages are pure GNOME packages.
Not necessarily.
Most of them are. The main desktop is.
Whatever package settings are in the settings itself, in the package file. That's very important.
No, I'm talking about general stuff. I'm not talking deep inside. Like if you build the Arch with pure GNOME from the Arch repositories, you're gonna get in the right click just console. This is the way GNOME intended it.
You sure?
Yeah,
Are you
I built
talking
it
about?
myself.
Are you? I was going to ask you. Were you compiling it? Is that how you got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay. Do you
So
know
you-
what's the package name of that console?
it's called GNOME console. GNOME-console
Let's
Git. I use Git. I built from source basically.
Okay, let's see if it really does that. One of the most amazing things about WSL is I can launch anything I want. Arch, Fedora,
Yeah.
Ubuntu. And
Yeah.
do you know how it works all? There is only one VM.
Yeah.
Talks directly to the hypervisor.
Yeah, there is one VM, and inside that one VM there are multiple namespaces, just like containers.
Yeah.
Docker containers, LXC, whatever. And each environment lives inside one namespace. And technically, for every one environment, you have there two namespaces, because there is a second namespace that is for the system environment, where inside Pulse audio lives, Wayland, and all the things, so you can do desktop applications in normal.
Basically GUI apps.
Yeah, and it's one of the most.
And Big Pod, on your Fedora, are you using Wayland and Pipewire? You using all that stuff, huh?
On anything I can now use Wayland and.
You are. I was just wondering if that's what you normally daily drive is GNOME and Wayland.
On my laptop, which has a touchscreen, I have to daily drive Wayland. It's horrible.
Okay.
But yeah, it works.
Yeah, I expect it to be horrible. I was just asking if you were using it.
Okay.
You said you have to use it for work. They make you use it?
No, I don't make me. I have to because of touchscreen.
Oh, okay.
Well, the other thing is one point regarding the Fedora thing. Also, I tried it myself. I had stability issues. That's on the one thing. So, like, I must imagine it's like built for certain enterprises who buy mass hardware in bulk. You get a laptop with that Fedora, everything all glued together, and you're good to go.
I just came to a horrible idea. I'm gonna install Fedora on my work laptop.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Fedora's gonna be
Go ahead.
But
Make sure
Fedora's
it's
gonna
no
be
bar.
great. Yeah.
No. It's gonna be a very specific version of Fedora, because there is only one version of Fedora I will ever install.
Core.
The KD Plasma.
No, and I bet you can figure it out. Just think a little bit.
C#.
Fedora C# edition.
One very nice metallic color. Or actually build out.
No. Not this one. Not this one.
Or a silver blue.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell us how that works.
One thing that ever Fedora. Everything else, no thanks.
Yeah, Stefan, I agree with Fedora sometimes being buggy out of the gate on release. A lot of times sometimes they'll have some major breakages sometimes, but usually within a week or two, they get everything patched. People report the bugs, and by now, Big Pod should be fine if he installs it.
Well, it's not even the fact that I won't be fine, because I know that Fedora in general likes to crash on me. That's no matter when I install it.
It's kind of like your Ubuntu long-term support release. You never install it in April. You wait till the first point release in June, and then you install it. You give it a couple months.
Fedora doesn't like me. That's been known. No matter which version it is, the version that most likes me is Silverblue.
I got Silverblue as well. Everything all glued together, all locked up. I couldn't install anything. I just had to use as is, and the company's administrators had total and full control, so nobody could tamper with security and stuff.
I love Silverblue. But really, no. Last time I installed Fedora, it didn't last me 2 hours.
Yeah, I did. I used Nubara, and it was the worst thing I ever seen.
The
Nubara.
only reason I'm even thinking about installing is because this thing doesn't have NVIDIA graphics. Because why in the year 2022 does anyone even think that having not having an automatically installing NVIDIA driver is a good thing.
Yeah.
Was that a shot fired at Debian, or
No,
or
that's
were
a
you
shot
just?
fired at Fedora directly.
Oh, at Fedora. Okay, I couldn't
And
figure
they
out which
already
one.
know that
Okay.
I detected
Debian
for
is
that.
on their way to making their mind up in this topic. They're on their way. They're
Really.
going
Uh,
towards
They might have a vote on it sometime
About
this
6
decade.
months ago, it was still no chance we're gonna have an automatic installer for it. No chance. And I said, even Arch does.
Yeah.
Think about it. Even Arch automatically installs NVIDIA drivers for you.
Why do you say it like that? Even Arch does.
Sorry,
What's
but
that supposed to mean?
I would understand. I understand Arch. I would understand Debian. I understand those two, but not something that tries to present itself as.
Well, for one thing, Arch doesn't really cater to like the free software movement. The way Debian's a big supporter of the Free Software Foundation and the GNU project. It would look weird if, hey, we're going to ship all your NVIDIA proprietary drivers out of the box now. People are
Fedora people. They say it's user friendly. Yet,
What? No.
I hear all the time it's user friendly from all the support of Fedora.
Because it runs GNOME. Listen,
Margaret
no. It's because it's getting that because of GNOME. Because GNOME, after using it for a while, I've been using it for a month now.
You get used to it.
You get used to it, and it's really user friendly because there's nothing to do.
yeah.
There's
I'm going to
nothing
give
do.
you a hot
As
take.
is, you adapt to it. You live with it, or yeah.
No,
I'm going to give you a hot take here, though. Arch is more user friendly than Fedora.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Dude, if you have to go, the first thing everybody recommends to do, the first thing you have to do once after installing Fedora, go to the DNF, enable parallel download.
We got to enable repositories that you shouldn't have to enable. I know.
Enable
That's
fast
right.
mirrors because otherwise you're gonna get a mirror on the moon.
Yeah. Why does it take me all day to install 30 updates?
Why don't they do that from the default after so many years getting flagged?
Let me explain why fast mirrors need to be enabled because it's idiotic. Their mirror system is set up like this. You have a single link to a mirror system server where it selects the closest mirror to you, and technically it's closest mirror to it by distance. But it doesn't care how much
it doesn't care about the speed, so it could
like
be.
that.
Yeah.
So when you enable fast mirrors, it's all about the bandwidth, no matter whatever ping it is. Just fastest mirror. And it's
and to be fair, Pac-Man and Arch didn't have parallel downloads till what, a year and a half ago.
Pac-Man have for a long time, and Apt also has for a long time. It just normally does four max.
Right.
Or I think 2, something like that.
But you can edit that in the apt config.
Pac-Man does 1 at a time, or at least it did for a while.
No, Pac-Man does if you don't, because I know like Manjaro on some of its editions, doesn't Manjaro still have it set to 1, which is
that's the default.
Super slow. Yeah, super slow.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. My whole entire Fedora experience, I used it for I think 15 days on both Nobara and Pure. Okay. Disclaimer: I am on NVIDIA.
Disclaimer.
Arch does two files, two downloads at a time right now by default.
Yeah.
2. Okay.
Yeah, I know because I actually went and built my own.
So if you don't have the setting at all, if you don't have the parallel processing or parallel download line in your config, it defaults to 2?
Yeah, that's the default. Defaults to.
That's good for me.
Built my own VSL Arch distro.
Yeah, well, that's good for me. Two parallel downloads are good for me because if I enable one more, it will end up with error downloading package because of my slow ass connection.
I probably could enable all of them at the same time. And it wouldn't even budge.
No, I tried 5, I tried 4, I tried 6, I tried 10. As soon as I enable more than 2, it just craps itself.
Maybe I should enable more, but I use Arch.
Well, that might be one Manjaro, because Manjaro is about the only Arch-based distro that I notice where they don't have the setting in their config. They just are going with the default.
Yeah.
Let's see how much by default.
But Manjaro, is another story. I have my own gripes with Manjaro, especially lately. Who doesn't? But
I don't.
Okay, no. They by default they have it commented in Arch, but the setting they have when you uncomment it, the first setting it is 5.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So first, let me
I like that.
install a
5 is
useful
yeah,
editor, terminal editor. So Nano.
Because it wouldn't make sense to uncomment it if you were just going to set it to 2, because it wouldn't change anything. It would make the user think they did something that they really didn't do.
yeah.
Sudo.
But the thing with Fedora and slow downloads, I don't know. I hate their mirrors, but I love their package manager. The way it displays all the packages that it's going to install, it's like Nala.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the Nala
They
devs,
very
they
much took
patterned it after DNF, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish the Arch Pac-Man would look like that. They still keep it Pac-Man eating dots. Okay, we got.
I like
okay.
that.
Technically, by default, it's hashtags filling in. That's by
A lot of
default.
people like how, how terse the output in Pac-Man is. You don't get a lot of overly verbose, unnecessary output like you do in something like
I love
like in Gen 2 when you emerge something and you get a ton of output
And it
and
got
none of it
built
is needed. It's like, well, I don't need all that. Just tell me a percent of how long this is downloading. And
Yeah, but in Arch, that Pac-Man eating the dots is really a nice touch. But
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
actually aesthetic.
yeah,
That
I don't
makes
know
the
why by
package
default.
manager.
By default, it's hashtags just moving around. You
Yeah.
have to enable "I love candy" in Pacman.conf to enable Pac-Man. They should.
And it's even not even shown. You have to know that you have to.
Yeah, and another thing.
I disable the Pac-Man. I'm not gonna lie. I find it distracting.
But there's another thing with Arch I don't understand. They chose to enable the beep, the PC speaker beep by default.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of users complain about that. Every time I turn on my computer, I jump because my speakers are so loud.
I hate it for terminal when they do it because
The GNOME terminal has the bell set to default, and I hate that thing. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah, but I have to turn it off. I have to turn it off during build.
laptop.
I don't need it to beep when I type something incorrectly. Like
For
that's
me-
just adding insult to injury. I already know it's.
To say for me, it's a necessity because I got used to it, and it's a confirmation that the system booted. So I like it, but I have to turn it off during the build process, so it is disabled. If I build it with it enabled, good luck disabling it. And I don't know why Arch chose that, but they did, and we have to live with it. Same like lately, System D received so many updates. And Arch went. Wait, let me finish. When you boot the live ISO, now Arch, if you download the pure Arch ISO, it boots into Grub in the live boot environment. I chose to stick with System D because I like the thing in the center. I stuck with it so long, and now System D got 7 or 8 updates since. Now I can't do that. I have to switch to Grub, to a dark Grub. So Arch are changing. There's a lot of things changing, not for the best, in my opinion.
Big Pod. Can Grub be a snap package?
No, I think that.
I was just asking.
But I
Yes
bet
or no?
Actually, they might have a bootloader as a snap, probably part of their system, part of the same snap as kernel, probably.
It's possible Murray could app image it, but I don't know.
I'm trying right now.
One of the things I remember when you mentioned System D and how much updates we got. I don't know if you
Success, it works.
but
it works.
months ago, there was a change in
Oh,
System
2
D
hours already?
in the creators of System D Live. He got a new job at Microsoft.
It's only 15.2 megabytes. Grub.
Yeah,
okay.
Leonard Pottering works at Microsoft now.
Who was
Yeah, that's been in the works for a while, hasn't it? Didn't he leave a couple of months back?
Yeah,
Red Hat. He
in
left
their
for.
Linux division, basically. What they do
Well, of
Linux.
course, because Microsoft
Yeah.
does a lot with open source. It made sense to hire somebody like him.
And the guy, what's his name? The guy who made Python also works at Microsoft.
Yeah.
Well, where else would a guy like that work? Either at Microsoft or Google, Amazon, Facebook. And
You mean Meta?
yeah, Meta.
Oh, okay.
and the list almost ends for a guy like that, where he will get a paycheck that he deserves.
The grub executes as well. You get the grub prompt when you hit enter, so it's working.
Cool.
The other thing is you can do this yourself quite easily. It takes less than a minute to install Nix on your system, and once you're in there, you go into a prompt and say Nix bundle, and you enter the rest of the command, and you can create yourself an app image. The only hitch is that where you expect the app image to be is a symbolic link to the store. They leave it in the store for some reason. So you have to do read link and copy it out to get the actual image, but that's not hard to do.
They're probably putting it in the store just to make sure it's in the path. So
no, to save space. 'Cause if you have 10 app images and they all use similar SO files and stuff, they'll save the SO once and all linked into that SO. So they share the common parts in there. When you pull it out, you get the whole thing. But anyone can do it. You can do it in 10 minutes. You can have OBS Studio, the latest one. It may or may not have the GLX issue, but it might work on your system.
I'm just looking at backing up my laptop before I actually.
And you know what? I never thought we'd reach a day where somebody'd say NixOS is so easy anybody can do it, because NixOS a few years ago wasn't so easy, but now it is. Yeah,
it is for this. It depends what you want to do. If you install 300 packages and you want to be able to back it up and copy them to another system and emulate it, then you need to do some scripting. But it's not that hard.
NixOS is somewhat easy to install nowadays, but it has a horrible what is called scheme for making packages. I hate it.
It's improved. It's changed. The new way is with flakes. It's probably. I don't like it either. I wouldn't try it myself. They use a functional language for it. It's complex.
A functional language, aka I'm not gonna even touch it.
Yeah.
Well, the Geeks guys got it right by actually using a scheme to actually. Let's actually pick a scripting language that people actually would know. I like that stuff, you know. That's why I like tiling window managers written in real languages. Let's not invent one just for this project. Let's actually use something that's already there.
I'm gonna say, if you're gonna have a configuration file, have it either in YAML or JSON. Everything else, please don't. That's what configuration should be. Not.
I can't use your window manager then, Big Pud. I can't.
Not a program. That's not what
Why though?
configuration should be.
At least write it in C#
No.
and configure it in C#.
No. Even C#. If anything has a configuration file in a language, I will not use it.
Do it in Perl. We want Perl.
Yes, that would be the ultimate right there.
Yep.
Write it in awk. That would be.
Put your configuration in Etsy environment.
There's a desktop environment that Eric discovered recently called The Desk. He made a video today of it. It's kind of weird. It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. It's Qt based because it uses a lot of Plasma stuff, but Plasma maybe 4, maybe I don't know. It's kind of weird for a weird desktop environment. But yeah, I want to test it now.
I have noticed all of a sudden, like everybody and their grandmother is creating a window manager. I guess just it's cool thing. Because in the last, I've noticed in the last 2 months especially, I get requests almost every other day from somebody asking me to take a look at some window manager that I've never heard of. And it's always a different one.
Also,
and it's like, are any of these things good?
Do a new not window manager, but new DE. They have to look at. There is a new DE in works by someone.
Paper DE?
No. Butterfly.
Butterfly. I think that somebody had told me to take a look at that. What is Butterfly?
It's not yet done, and it's not even done enough for use. It's to
The paper one that he mentioned. Is that the fork of DWM, or is that something else?
No,
I'm
it's
thinking of?
a desktop. It's a desktop environment.
Yeah, but
Paper.de.
they built it on. I thought, but I'm probably thinking of something else.
There's Paper.de. There's the desk that and the new one that Eric is making 100 videos of. A day.
Let me just do a search.
Butterfly
Paper.de.
will be a desktop environment made purely in Flutter
Flutter
and
Oh.
Dart. Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
I've got an
Wasn't
app
that
image.
Android programming language?
No, that'd be Kotlin.
I've got an
Ah,
app.
But it is
yeah,
Google,
yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what was that, Murray?
I've got an app image for Dart and Flutter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know guys who will be making it.
All right, I
or
see
making it.
Paper.de. It looks like GNOME, so maybe it's a fork of GNOME. I don't know.
Yeah, and the
Trying to see if I can find a GitHub or a GitLab, or it's like they have it on GitLab. Let me see what it's written in.
what's it called?
Might give me a clue on what they forked it from. If it's a fork, maybe they wrote it from scratch. Who knows?
The new thing that Eric is talking about.
Oh, it's Qt, so it's probably not a fork of GNOME.
Maybe fork of KDE that looks like GNOME,
It could be.
or maybe a KDE as GNOME.
Chat WM. Eric has been making videos of Chat WM.
No.
We're back in
Okay.
the memes now.
Now
Yeah. I have on my timeline alone. I have 10 videos of him making talking about Chat WM.
Such a great name. My favorite one was, of course, Spectre WM, but if you're really supposed to pronounce the W as a U as Spectrum, but that's the new name. The old name before they changed it was Scrot WM, which if you change the W to U, it's Scrotum.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can understand why they changed it to Spectrum, because a lot of people had a problem with the old name.
cross between scrotum and crotch rot.
Okay.
Scrot.
Now we're creating a backup. Then we install Fedora
Fedora.
Silverblue.
Yeah, 200 gigs of backup. But this
No,
Chat
it's
WM,
5.
this Chat WM is actually a real thing. It's a fork of DWM. But
Scrotum was a real thing too. What are you doing? I believe it's a real thing.
so I don't. What's this? What's this
I don't
name? People are not. They want to make funny window managers. Just put a wallpaper with Chad on it.
Well, I'm
From
thinking
chat.
of creating a meme distro called Zero Linux.
Chad
Blah, blah, blah,
WM.
blah, blah.
It's written in C. The panel looks like DWM. Maybe that's a fork of DWM.
Yeah. So,
Most of these new window managers I've noticed, because DWM's code base is so small, they usually start with that as a base and then work around it.
the most
Just 'cause
the most common window manager I've seen so far is Rust. Rust. I mean, what's it called? Dusk.
Dusk?
Yeah, Dusk is a patched version of DWM, I think. It's got all the patches where it fixes the issues of DWM.
Yeah, there was a group that fixed the issues with DWM about, I'd say 16 years ago, 18 years ago now. That's Awesome WM. They did a great job.
Problem is they use Lua as a configuration language.
Yeah, but their window manager actually works like you'd expect a window manager to work without having
I
to.
couldn't get Awesome to work. I couldn't get
No, it's
Awesome.
pretty good for configuration.
You couldn't get it to work out of the box, or
Yeah, out of the box. I installed
that's weird.
repositories and it just did nothing.
Yeah, because Awesome is usually you just install it and it's got a panel and wallpaper and a menu system. Usually you can, even without needing to learn Lua to hack on the config, you can kind of use it out of the box. It's a floating window manager out of the box until you change things, though.
Yeah, on the Dusk GitHub, the maintainers just post, please ignore. This is just my personal build of what once was DWM. It includes DWM FlexiPatch.
I would love for some of these people that have forked DWM and added all this fanciness to it to try to merge it back into main DWM just to see what the suckless guys to see how they act.
Very funny.
That's
really go.
comment at the close pull request.
No,
I'm
but-
merging my branch back in. By the way, I rewrote everything instead of using C. It's now in C#.
Very happy with that on the mailing list, I would guess.
Well, I was actually at one point thinking of making my own desktop environment in C#.
Baba.
I think you should do that, Big Pod.
Well, after that, Butterfly gets up and running.
As we say in Greek, sira to pram.
The problem with C# is, you'd have to start from scratch. See, if you pick a normal language like C, there's other window managers written in C that you can
I
already
think so.
Well,
have a head start on.
certain things I have to implement. I would probably not create a compositor, since I would only focus on Valent. Insane, but yes, I would probably use Western or Wayfire or something like that.
That's everybody
Near-
is using Wayfire. It's all a fork of the same
Then I
one
would
project.
probably everything else is probably making something like what's that name? GTK Sharp, and that's it. And use GTK as a basis, or maybe
you-
I would go with something a bit more fancy in C#.
If you ever want to write a desktop environment in Haskell, I'm up to help you out a little bit. If you,
No,
you
definitely not. It's a functional language that is extremely functional, so no thanks. That's,
It's an extremely, it is an extremely
that's
functional
an
language.
Insanity. I'm not going to dive into.
No, I like the
First,
way
I have to
you
learn
think
what a
about it.
monad is, and I don't know.
He said that's an extremely functional, not just a functional language. That's an extremely functional
And
language.
by extremely functional language, I mean extremely insane language.
Okay. Why not build a window manager all running in Bash?
Because I want it to work.
Bash is
So,
not.
I know a guy who could do that.
Yeah, but Bash would be extremely slow for some tasks. Like, it's not complicated thing. Not that a window manager is complicated, but especially like if you wanted to get into like some of the compositing stuff, like Big Pod was saying, you couldn't do that with Shell. You'd have to pick a real language to.
Yeah. Bash, because it's the only language I know. I type everything in Bash. So I'm like, why not create a desktop window manager using Bash? Then I was like, that will take a long time.
I bet you could almost, if you wanted to go something really stripped down, minimal, something DWM like, there's not much to it. I bet you could probably accomplish that.
Yeah,
strictly
but
using-
it will be interconnected scripts. That script loads that script. That loads that script.
Oh, it'd be hacky. Yeah. I mean, it would be.
Oh.
I have a
Yeah,
question for you, DT.
Yeah.
Since you are now a Snap advocate, does Snap leave leftover stuff? Because when I was having trouble with my microphone earlier, it was leftover Chromium, which I removed. I removed the Snap, and there was some Chromium thing, and I had to go into Synaptic to remove it. It was weird.
Yeah, the only thing with snaps and flat packs and possibly app images too, anything in your home directory that is placed in your home directory, I don't think they'll ever remove it because that's you're responsible for everything in that directory. They'll remove stuff in the system root directories, but in your home directory, like that's any package manager. That's every package manager on Linux. It doesn't matter when you uninstall a program, it's going to leave anything in your home directory as is. So any custom configurations, any cache,
even stuff in the .config folder, they will remain.
they're not going to touch it. Yeah,
Was it like the .desktop file that was still remaining? Because that often happens in Snap.
If you put it in .local/share/applications in your home directory, that .desktop file will still be there.
Yeah. So it'll still show up in your menu. I've learned that.
If you put it in a global directory like user share applications,
It will remove
then
that.
it will probably remove it. But if you put it in your home directory, it won't.
Yeah, that's why I always set Snap to try and install it in the global one instead of in my personal home.
Yeah, like with Flatpaks, instead of using installing Flatpaks from the user place, because that's where it's going to put everything in your home directory. Use the system repo.
Use sudo. Use sudo for Flatpaks always.
Because if you don't use sudo, it's going to put everything in your home directory. If you use sudo, it's going to put them in the system wide.
You know what the difference between whether you use sudo or not sudo? Besides that, where it puts it.
What?
That application will work in what is a user context, so it has least privilege possible, and it is by far better for security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I always in top grade, for example, since I use top grade, I tell top grade to use sudo with Flatpaks, so it installs them system wide and to be safer that way.
Yeah.
Speaking of Snap, I installed 35 Snap packages just to test it out. It generated 50 loopback devices that are inserted in the boot process and activated when you start up, and when you shut down the computer, it shuts them down on them.
Yeah, but it takes longer to shut down then. A little bit longer.
Slightly longer.
Yeah.
Who cares? Just like startup. Who cares?
Just a second. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
I know it was trying to default to my laptop's microphone, and that microphone sucks.
Well, we're coming up on the end of the 2 hours here, so why don't we get a quick last word from everybody? And I try to keep these things under 2 hours, because if I do, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they will sync to Odyssey. But it's kind of flaky, so a lot of times I know I don't take the time to rip these down and upload them to Odyssey because it's a big upload. But hopefully it gets synced. If it doesn't, I know people complain that they have to watch these on YouTube. But
since I have a podcast now, I did the last episode was 2 hours 14 minutes, and it's
synced.
Yeah.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's 50-50 shot for me. It seems like on these. Big Pod, give us the last word, sir.
Last word.
He never has one.
C#. JavaScript.
Bash.
He's thinking. He hasn't had to think about anything this whole stream. Now he's actually thinking. Yes.
He's always talking in the stream. And then it comes to the end.
He's shy. He doesn't want to speak.
Loading.
Loading, yeah.
Dark Zero, give us the last word. Big Pod's still loading.
Okay.
Just remember.
Stop. My last word is from here on in will be the same. Stop the hate.
I like it. Big Pod, are you still loading?
Oh, and one last thing. It's going to be in French. Excuse me, but because it's meant for someone. Merci beaucoup, Neo29. Merci beaucoup.
All right.
Okay.
Yep, Dad, give us the last word.
Come to the dark side. Come to KDE.
That is a dark place.
That's why I'm called Dog Zero.
Max, give us the last word.
Dark Zero said something about 29, I think, in French, but I'm not sure. It's
about
for me.
About what?
Oh, I didn't catch his French.
I learn French currently, and I heard 29, which means 29.
29. It's right. Neo29 is the username of my friend.
Right. Yeah.
All I understood was merci beaucoup.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us today, Max. Marcin, I don't know if they're there. Bjorn would like to give a last word. Speak up.
I am. Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. Yep. No, you got you.
Yeah, those are also my first words here. So I haven't been here with you for quite so long time. So thank you for the chat, for listening. Actually, I was listening all the time. Thank you, just thank you.
Oh, appreciate that. Murray, do you have any famous last words?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. Artificial intelligence. First, there was this person does not exist.com. Now there's this image does not exist.com and this does not exist.com as well. There's other ones. There's also another one I don't have the link for where you can enter text and create an image. You could enter Vladimir Putin on a roller coaster with a canary on his shoulder and it will generate the image for you. That site's very low res, but there are other high res sites that do the same thing on it. So that's
You get stable diffusion.
Stable diffusion, crap.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
AI is bad.
We live in the matrix. We all are part of the matrix.
There's another one where you paste a paragraph into it, and it will analyze it and generate questions based on what you put in there. Like I did one on cosmology, and then it said it generated questions. How old's the universe? And gives you a list to the. It's pre-alpha because it didn't even have the right answer for the age of the universe. It's very early, but it's coming. You can see what they're doing on it.
It's learning, though. It's learning.
It's learning.
Less it learns, the better.
There's Pretty Print and PDF. Firefox add-on is the one that will create a PDF from a website on it.
Okay.
And does a good job. There's KDE Console has a nice plugin called Quick Commands. It brings up a panel on the left-hand side. And you can create, in effect, your own start menu. And you put entries in there and you click on it and it'll pass the entry over to your window. So I've got file managers, and when you expand it, I've got Midnight Commander, Noise Ranger, Dolphin, Double Commander, Menu Commander, Nodus, etc. I've got another one for terminals. You can do that. I've got one for ZFS. They don't have to be applications. They can be bash functions you put in there. So for ZFS, I've got backup local and list pools and create data sets. So you can do you can organize your code that way. So for Nix, I don't have to use acronyms anymore, like Nix install package in the terminal, so you remember it. I've got Nix install package right in the panel itself. You can do it, and it works out really well. It turns it into a good little IDE, actually.
Very cool.
And
very cool.
The other thing is give Nix a chance. 1 minute to install, and then the Nix bundle command, and you can get yourself some app images.
Well, you summed it up earlier. In Nix OS, it's very easy. Right.
I gave it a chance.
Thanks for hanging out with us, Murray. I clicked on something. Oh, I guess somebody dropped. All right, Penguin, give us the last word.
Hey everyone, sorry I was late. I was having problems with Jitsi, but finally got on there. But glad I could join you at least for the last few minutes. Just remember, just don't tell me I effing suck. Remember that, TT? You shared my channel and someone came in and said that.
Oh, well, YouTube comments, I pretty much ignore them all anyway. So
that was just, I thought that was funny, but I'm like, see you later.
You're not going to see anything of value in most YouTube comments.
Yeah. Well, I got into something about snaps and Linux Mint on someone else's channel, and finally I just said, you know what? Go away. But
you stepped in that hornet's nest.
But I'm rejoining YouTube. Hopefully, I'll be able to stay this time, and hopefully, you guys have a lot of fun this month.
All right. Well, appreciate you hanging out with us, Slindy.
Well,
do you have any last words?
Yes, I do.
All right.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Nice one.
Well said. Stefan, give us the last word.
Thanks for the talk. And in the last month, I started to live entirely within Xmonad and NeoVim, and started to go really minimal. And the only problem being faster than light is that you can only live in total darkness. So yeah. Thanks for the talk, and
right.
support your family, loved ones, in case you're having holidays or whatever. And otherwise, just try to take care of your loved ones and stop the hate in general.
Yeah, exactly.
Well said. Yeah,
And one last thing, I want to say one last thing, if I'm allowed. We have a new podcast called Zero Bytes. So somebody on your on this chat once said that I'm very good at discussing subjects. So I went ahead and created a podcast. So why don't you just drop by? It's bytes.zerolinux.xyz. It's on audio and video on YouTube if you want. And we just have fun. Me and my co-host, we just talk about random Linux related.
Do you have that on Google and Spotify?
Google, Spotify. I use Anchor FM that spreads it around.
That's cool. Yeah,
Check it out. Check it out and see if you can provide us some ideas on what we should talk about.
Yeah, because I like listening to audio podcasts when I'm at the gym. So
that's the point. I release it on Fridays. Friday's my time, so it could be Thursday the rest of the world. But anyway, I release it then, so on the weekend people can listen to it or watch it.
Very cool. All right, well, let me get my last word in. I want to thank all you guys on camera here. There were a couple people that dropped off that were here earlier. Thank all you guys again for hanging out. Of course, all the folks in the YouTube chat. I know we had some discussion there. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying that much attention to the YouTube chat. I apologize for that, but you guys are usually great with your questions and comments there. These are names of all the patrons. And other than that, Stefan's going to give us a piece. Big Pod's going to give us a C sharp, and we're going to get out of here. Wave bye. Woo, peace.
Bye.
Bye.